County, Santa Cruz. If you come up I-15, you have to drive right by it. But most people just drive right by it. My first trip to Logan, Utah was September the 3rd, I think, 1971. I had just gotten out of the Navy on the 1st of September, and on the 3rd I drove into the valley. And I still get choked up when I think about this, but coming up on a dry lake and over the hill, to see a big clump of quaking aspen in the conifers there at the end of the view. And this was in early September, but the quakies were bright yellow at that time. I don't know what had happened, but I remember that every time I come through Sardine Canyon. And even today, all these years later, it's emotional to me to come back to Logan. We love it so much, we bought a home in 2018, down on 2nd East and 6th North. And so we spend half our year here and half our year in Mesa. About 55 years ago, a young man back here, Royland Croshaw, and I studied landscape architecture in this parking lot. At the time, there was a building there, the Mechanical Arts building. It was landscape architecture, interior design, and art. Obviously, it's gone now. The department's still here. But I went in another direction. I got licensed in landscape architecture in Montana and Nevada and Arizona, but I just never did care for it. And in the early 90s, I went to the police academy at the age of about 43 years old. And I became a law enforcement officer. And David asked that I kind of touch on that a little bit. And I have a whole bunch of really good stories that most of them have some basis in fact, but a lot of them are just stories. But there are a couple of things that happened. In 2005, there were two horrible hurricanes in the southeast in Louisiana, Katrina and Rita. And the Maricopa County Sheriff's Office sent 100 of us down there each time for those hurricanes, where we were able to provide service to the local law enforcement who were completely overwhelmed with the destruction. There was no electricity. They couldn't pump gas. Their cars were not functioning, and so we showed up to help, and I'm very proud of that. And then one of the things that I think kind of defines my career as a police officer, a deputy sheriff, was about 3 weeks before I retired. In March of 2016, the sheriff was going to introduce someone at a meeting in Wickenburg, Arizona. And as luck would have it, the man running for president, Donald Trump, was speaking in Fountain Hills. And our sheriff and Donald Trump are very much the same kind of personality. So he elected to go there, and he asked if I would go to Wickenburg and introduce Private First Class Samuel Thomas Holliday, who in 1943 was one of the original code talkers. And like most of us, I suppose, I had heard of the code talkers, and so that's all I knew was they were Navajos. The majority of them were Navajos, and they spoke a code that the Japanese could not break. But I've heard it on the internet. If this had happened 10 years earlier, I wouldn't have been able to do this, but I got on the internet and found out what the code talkers were about. And to my surprise, that was a classified secret until 1968. But I met Sam. I got to introduce him, but before I did, before the meeting, it was either his daughter or his granddaughter was his interpreter. And so he met with me, and I kind of told him what I was going to do and told him what I was going to say. I didn't want to do anything that would embarrass him or me. And through his interpreter, all that was good to go. And so I felt like, well, this is going to be okay. I introduced him. I had my little spiel. I introduced him. I sat down. He approached the microphone, and in better English than I speak, he gave his remarks of the day. But to me, as Carrie said, being a veteran, and I was in the Navy. I was a forward air controller in the Navy. Nothing at all like Sam Holliday had to go through, or a lot of the people in the Army, the Marine Corps that were out on the ground doing what needed to be done. But since then, I've always felt like part of being an American is service, doing what we do. And I just want to stop by saying I'm proud of the Summer Citizens Program. I'm glad I'm a Summer Citizen. This is our 10th year. I love the Summer Citizens Program. I love this university. I love this valley. And I love the United States of America. Thank you.
Thank you, Bill. Good job.